I see your demons, I'm telling them it's on sight. I'm just playing, I don't fight, I do pray. I only go the way of Mr. Yahweh. Try to correct me.
Salute.
Salute. Look at this. Marky Mark, the cleaning shark. Love
Oh,
it.
I thought that had died a comfortable death from last year, okay?
Oh, you look good.
Oh, thank you. I was
Hey,
telling James, this is
kind of
what I wear
cigar?
when we play our gigs. So I'm comfortable.
What do you mean when you play your gigs?
I'm in 2 different local bands. So this is part of the
Why didn't I know this?
accoutrement.
What do you play, Mark? I didn't know this.
I play lead guitar, bass guitar, some keys, and backup singing.
Well, let's go.
I've been doing that since I was 11 years old. It doesn't sound like it sometimes, but
it doesn't sound. You gotta send me a video or something. I got
a couple bands. One's the Collaborators. It's a long story. People I've known for 20 years, and the other is a straight classic rock and roll hard rock band. Aerosmith, you pick it, Stones. We have a lot of fun. Okay, our classes have to go, but I did want to follow directions and come relaxed, ready to have fun. Did I accomplish the first objective?
Yes, and if you're listening to this, jump on the YouTube, please, because you guys need to see his outfit. Now, the real question, and here's how we will really figure out how relaxed you are. What kind of cigar is that?
Glad you, and I knew you'd ask. This is not a real expensive one. It's a Gurkha 15-year aged special reserve. So it's a light smoke.
I love it, man. Anyone that shows up with sunglasses, a hat like that, and a cigar is welcome on our podcast anytime.
You know, that's the beauty of being old. You just don't care.
You only care about what matters now.
I'd love to leave the glasses on, but I can't see my notes through the screen with the ultraviolet block. So unfortunately, you're going to have to look at me.
No, you're good. You're good. And I hope you really don't light up that cigar in the room.
No, my wife would be up here with a fire extinguisher before she left. So yeah,
I think this would make great content. So go right ahead. I mean,
I know. I want to see your wife pull up with the fire extinguisher on camera.
She doesn't leave for an hour and a half.
No, don't light it. I'm just kidding.
I've got to put a fan behind the door. I've got to blow it out so it doesn't float into the living room downstairs. It's a whole. I just go outside. We have a real nice patio and stuff set up for all this stuff and entertaining. So I just go out there and do it.
I love it, man.
Hey, I don't smoke very much anymore since my AFib and all that stuff. But there was a time I used to keep a humidifier of them about 200. So
200 cigars.
Well, I didn't smoke them all. We were in a cigar club with a bunch of buddies, and we'd come and smoke and talk and solve all the world's problems.
Well, the good news is you still solve world problems, I would say, which we'll get into it. Second, you're fun regardless of you smoking or showing up with glasses. You've always been a great time with us. And 3, believe it or not, you guys shouted out. So we just recorded some podcasts, and a few people shouted you out as a mentor of them and someone that they follow, and they've gotten great advice. So I believe, James, do you remember who it was?
Yeah, it was number 1 was Edwin Eaton with iPro Building, and
Edwin's a great guy. Love him. We have great discussions. We're gonna do a podcast together. Go ahead.
It was Joseph Lockhart.
Joseph Lockhart, man, spoke highly, and he's been growing like crazy
with JDM.
Yeah. His podcast was crazy too. But it speaks volumes. I think it always speaks volumes to the people. We're just talking about this on another podcast, like who you recommend and who you speak about speaks more about the person and the person being recommended. So the 2 people that recommended or that shouted you out, Edwin and Joseph, I mean, top of the crop, right? Top of the crop people. So that speaks volumes to Mr. Mark Anderson. And your third,
take it off.
I think whatever. Let's see. Take it off real quick. Let's see.
Whoa!
Hello.
Oh, yeah, put it back on. I'm just kidding.
Well, now you guys know what my hair looks like. I've been to your event.
That's okay.
You've actually been under the hat.
I hope this is how you give your. I hope this is how you give your class. By the way. with a cigar. We should get everybody cigars and just light that place up while you're speaking.
Oh, I'm
I
in
mean,
for that.
it's a warehouse after all. So
Is it
let's
the same
Mhm.
place? I looked at
no,
the address. Is it the same spot or is it different?
It's
it's
close to it.
one block. It's one block over, literally. So no, but hey, let's jump into it here, Mark. Man, I always love talking to you. You bring the energy with the insight, which is always the best combination. Man, you're gonna be, I don't know, this is probably like your third time on our podcast. Maybe, yeah, I believe maybe
Yeah.
even four. But for those
And
listening,
third
Mark,
year at the event.
yeah, and third year at the event. For those listening, everyone should know of you, but if they don't, I'm going to challenge you with something. And one
Oh,
minute or less, Mark. 1 minute or less. I'm
I'm
going
in
to
on it.
time you.
I'm gonna time it.
Uh,
I have timer.
give people who Mark Anderson is and why they should listen.
Mark Anderson is a person that generally cares about helping people. I did when I owned my company, and I do now. I'm glad you asked the question. I had met with a friend yesterday, which is going to be part of some of the announcements of our expansion. And he said, "Why are you still working? We're having lunch." This guy's he's an ex-IT VP for one of the banks here, and he's a specialist in lean. And I said, why? I said, I like doing it. I like working with people. I love working with people that take what we talk about, put it out in the field, and it produces results. There's nothing more satisfying. So, in a minute or less, there it is. And the other side, my personal beliefs, why sit on 50 years of experience if I'm still healthy enough to help other people? Okay. Why sit on it and go to the beach and smoke a cigar and drink margaritas or a 20-year-old scotch or whatever your poison is. Mine happens to be a Diet Cola or an Arnold Palmer these days. But so, and I love working with my son. He's part of the company. And guys, we've just been on fire the last year. We've been busy. We're so busy. We're looking at expansion. We're looking at bringing on other consultants. I can't say who yet, but and it's not the people on the podcast. They'll be there, Ed and Sharon, but I've got 3 or 4 other industry experts I know that are going to come alongside. And the fellow that I talked about, he's a Six Sigma specialist in lean methodology and some of the things that I teach in ISO. And it's going to be a powerful combination. The goal there is to give people who don't have access and the money and the time to put quality management systems into their company at an affordable price so they can scale, because that stuff's so out of reach. And ISO 9000 takes you about 20 grand to go through, and you have to have someone that does it. Same with Sims. I'm not sure on Sims price. I'm more an ISO guy. But we got to talking, and he just retired from the bank, and he's going to do what you guys want to do. He's going to be living down in Costa Rica and working remote. And he said, we worked together with $1 billion company. As a matter of fact, it was a deal I brought in when we first started, and it was a timber company. And he worked with their CFO all across the United States, organizing and putting processes, playbooks, and everything into place at about 7 or 8 locations. And they were about $1 billion company. And so we set that whole deal up. I took it as far as I could, and then I called him and said, "Hey, you're out of my league. I can't run these meetings." So we worked an affiliate deal and had a lot of fun. Then he went back to work for the bank with their IT
Nice,
department, senior
nice.
VP.
So you could already, you could tell when you get deep in there, you have the knowledge to serve any company. Now, would you say that that's a specific size company real quick that you usually help, or, and then we'll get into what we're going to be doing here, but
Our our bandwidth, if you want to call it that, is we save anywhere between 3 million and 50. I've got a customer that does about 120 million a division, but most of the people, and the reason is we're not excluding anybody. It's simply a matter of having the time to do it, having enough experience, having the people in place to organize and put your quality management systems together, your marketing systems together, and have the available profit to do it and do it correct. But that's why we're going to scale this thing down so anybody can do it. It's a
hmm.
big charge, but we'll see how well we come out in 2025. But and we're also going to put on our own uh, community network. We're building a private community network, and that's about all I can say. It will be by invitation only. and it will, let's just say it's going to be everything you can get anywhere else. So we're trying to build that magical package of mastermind, community talk, people helping each other. And I know there's a lot of people doing it, but we're going to do a different spin on it. It's obviously going to be, what's the word? Oh shoot, just went blank. Video like this. You can't do this all across the country. And I got a couple people. I might have some introductions to some international people. So, I mean, I'm not a big
Nice.
player. I'm just a guy out here having fun, trying to help people. Okay.
All right, well, let's jump in there in that case. And that's, and so if you haven't reached out to Mark, go to his LinkedIn, connect with him, right? We'll
Yep.
put it out here on the show notes. Make sure you stay, check out their podcast. Make sure you like stay connected with him. Always a great knowledge to stay connected with him. Now, third year. So first year, you came in and you spoke about basically like finding the money, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us are sitting on money.
Cross sell and upsell.
Yeah, cross sell and upselling your clients, right? Finding that
Right.
money you're already in. Second year, you came again, but you led a roundtable again on cross sell, upsell, but the roundtable turned out to be more of just people wanting to pick your brain, right? Pick your brain, and you've been able to impact a lot of our attendees, and you trusted us since year one to put something together. Now we're in year three, bigger, better, right? Called the takeover. Now you're coming back, right? You're coming back another year. Um, People are still impressed by what you do. We're gonna keep impressing people with you. This time around, you're doing the VIP Masterclass, so only the VIPs during a lunch can get access to it. You're about to teach them, and this time around, we're teaching them the profit alchemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, real quick before we get into the profit alchemy, first question:
Yes, sir.
why are you back year three, man? Why are you back here year three?
Well, you guys are on fire. What can I tell you? When we met 3 years ago, you're doing things that nobody else is doing. You're approaching it from a different way. You're great to work with. We have a good relationship. Anybody working with you, whether it's coming to the seminars or they're presenting, they know that they're coming in. It's a quality event. They're going to meet the right people, the right time, and you bring people in that will deliver messages that play to everybody. I'm operations, I'm marketing, but on the other side, you cover the whole gamut and you even work outside of that. So it's really a great broad band of ideas and classes, and your mixers are great. I mean, the dinners, the cocktails, all the different things you guys do, even the bread, well, everything you do allows people to intermingle, to meet each other and network in a real non-threatening environment. And I just think it's a great event.
Well, thank you so much.
So
Well,
there you
let's
go.
For those listening that haven't gotten the ticket, get your ticket. But for those listening, let's say they just can't go, let's give them some insight into what the profit alchemy is gonna be. Let's play. We don't have to go deep in the ocean, but a little
No, no, we'll
splash
we'll
pad
we'll
wouldn't hurt.
roll on the top. How's that?
Yeah, yeah, we'll do it. But
So
we'll
when I
still give
say
them some
profit
insight.
alchemy, what do you two guys? What is alchemy? Can either of you explain it?
This is
Dude,
when people find out that the two hosts that they've been listening to are probably not the smartest. I am 100% Googling this.
it's alchemy is like a chemistry, right? It's a
Yep.
formula, if I'm not mistaken.
But it's got chemistry involved. It comes out of the Middle Ages.
Okay. Why don't you break us down and
A
educate
medieval
us?
forerunner of chemistry.
Yep.
Convert base metals into gold. Something around that?
Yep. That's
Okay.
exactly it. But it's not a transformation, it's a transmutation. You take
Mm.
Mm,
similar properties, things that you have, and you put them together and make them worth 10, 20, 30 times what they had as a value independently of each other.
I like
So you
that.
could call it synergizing. They never did make gold, as you know, but they tried. So the
But
alchemy,
transmutation's good because that means
yeah,
it can never go back to its original property, can it?
yep. You
Good
put it
point.
in and it's worth what it's worth and it is what it is. And your business is the same way. And, I've been on the upsell, cross sell. Yes, we're going to revisit that because I'm still kind of an evangelist on that. It worked well for me. Can I do a little fast story? We started working
Let's
with
Please
a
do
do.
it.
client and we built an automated through a CRM, upsell, cross-sell program. We just launched it 60 days ago, and we've generated first two. We haven't even got the program out the gate. First two, we generated $90,000 worth of new revenue for them at 40%.
Hey, are you ready to challenge yourself? Mark your calendars for the event of the year, the Cleaning Profits Takeover Edition, happening in Denver, Colorado from September 24 to 26. Head over to event.cleaningprofits.com for all the details. For being listeners, use code CEO30 for a 30% discount. See you there.
So we're still trying proof of concept. Remember, blind hog finds an acorn every now and again. So I haven't proofed this thing, but I know it works. I've used it. I've taught other people to use it. And my whole life, I've been involved in groups and in coaching that push that. And I always come back to go watch Shark Tank, go watch The Profit. And what do? They get more wallet share from their current customers because there's at least 20% ready to buy before you ask.
But why don't people, if it's that simple, why don't people do it then?
It's work. Entrepreneurs are busy, founders are busy, and this stuff takes work. And that's why Daryl and I tried to take the work out of it by building an entire system. We have a whole methodology, believe it or not, a system. I know it's hard to believe with me. But basically, you plug it into the CRM and it will run itself. We've built an entire 12-month campaign. And I'm not quite ready for prime time yet. I need some more feedback. I've got some folks looking at some statistics. But the first launch was absolutely, and we only called on 40 of their customers. We only mailed 40. We had a 50% open. We've only had a 7% opt out. And each month, like I said, we've closed 90,000 and they've got 50,000 waiting for answers.
That's smart.
And I love the question. They come back to these people and they've worked with this company for a long time. I didn't know you did that. Oh, really? And then the question goes, well, what else can you do this? Can you do that? People buy what they're aware of. And that's the whole customer value journey. So getting into this year, I've got my challenge to myself is 6 and 60. We've got a lunch and learn. We say that's an hour. I'm going to bring 6 powerful exponential building block concepts that you can readily put in your company. So then Angel said, well, if you do this, man, you got to hit it out of the park. He said, we have to have value. This is a big audience, big expectations. And believe me, I take that seriously because I'm not going to be the smartest guy in the room. And I love that. Don't want to be. But the other thing, you're going to get another 6 and 60 because I've got 12 of these things. So I'm going to give the lunch and learn. Then I'm going to have another 6. I'm going to put them all on video for everybody, and I'm going to put small playbooks behind them so they can understand and they have a bit of a roadmap how to use this and how it gets done. I'll give you part of the secret sauce. I'm not going to tell you how to make all of it, obviously, but I will
give us some
enough.
insight a little bit.
If you're industrious, you can find all this information yourself. What I've learned in the last 10 years of working with business owners, and I think one other thing people don't realize about me, I've been more than a building service contractor. That was my primary, love for 40 years. But during that time, we had a consultancy company, we had a franchise company. On top of that, we purchased small companies. We didn't do anything big, but we were buyers and we obviously sold our own company. On top of that, we've done training programs. We've trained for customers. We've built clean room programs. We have done a lot of things. I'm also a private investor. So I like to call it hard money, but that's a bad term anyhow. But I do a lot of those things. And basically, it was free. That was all pro bono. I did that for 5 years. I served on their board here. And in that time, I consulted over 100 customers on how to build their business from zero under $1 million, because SCORE works with the people that are building and trying to get. After you get to that point, you move into another program in the SBA. And in the last 10 years, I just for fun, I thought, how many hours a week am I on the phone solving problems? So I ran some fast math. approximately my average is I'm spending 40 hours a week helping operational directors, general managers, regional vice presidents solve problems to profits, right? And you get a lot of information and insight, but the one thing you learn, there's only a few problems and there's only a few solutions that work.
What are some of those problems that maybe people don't aren't aware of, that maybe if they're listening to this right now, they can be like, oh, I have that problem, or I think I have that problem, that will then get them to dig deeper. What are some of those unknown, man, I don't know if they're unknown or weird problems, but like people always say like low profits. Well, yeah, of course, but what are
It's,
some other ones that I can look into?
well, jot down QMS. Those are quality management systems. And one of the biggest things, even with some of the larger companies, some, not all, and you go to the guys and gals that are knocking this stuff out of the park, they're doing what I'm talking about almost to 100%.
Hey, what's up, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by Cinch. If you're ready to take your commercial cleaning business to the next level, we have you covered. Maybe you're struggling with how to bid, how to create professional looking proposals, or just how to ensure your customers' accounts are actually being cleaned at night. Introducing Cinch Janitorial Software. Cinch is a simple, user-friendly software that eliminates these types of struggles that you probably know all too well. Cinch simplifies your entire process and will supercharge your success because they remove paperwork headaches while creating a scalable, efficient, and profitable cleaning business. Get your free demo of Cinch at cleancinch.com. They're here to turn your business into a success story. That's cleancinch, CINCH.com. It's simple, it's Cinch.
You got somebody that's running a successful company, they understand these principles. But it's business processes and procedures. They call them playbooks now, but it's nothing different. And it's having this down, knowing how to measure it, manage it, and fix it when it breaks. It involves the customer, your employees. Now, whether they're employees or they're subcontractors, it's no different. It's operations by another name. That's still the same process. And I work with both. I work with people that are solely, that's all they do is sub, and I work with them, all they do is self-employed or self-perform, excuse me.
Yeah.
So they don't have a process that gets followed that everyone in the company understands from the bottom up, and more importantly, the top down supports it. They skip things like training. Why aren't we getting quality service? Well, you can complain about the people all you want. At the end of the day, you have to work with what you got. I was in the same boat. I was a contractor, and I work with a lot of different contractors. I've worked with plumbing companies, construction companies, landscape companies. I mean, if it's a B2B commercial service, HVAC changes because you've got capital expenses for equipment and the changes on that side of the house. But other than that, it's a service company.
Yeah.
So they do not have a process in place that they can easily look back and say, that's where it's broken after, an examination. They don't have 5 or 6 basic quality tools in their toolbox that come out of Six Sigma, that come out of the American Society of Quality. You only need 5 or 6 of these things. I mean, everyone says, well, like the fella I know that we may do some things together again for Jerry. He can do this stuff backwards and forwards, but he's working with billion-dollar companies, cross-functional. I mean, it's just, you need about 5 to 7 quality tools. And if you use them, you can control and be ahead of your problems most of the time. And I know because I did it for 40 years. The first 15 stunk, believe me.
Yeah.
After the first 15, and we worked in high tech. So I was working with clean rooms and everything. So we had to have all this stuff in place or they wouldn't hire you.
What are some of those tools? What are some tool examples of someone listening
Well,
to
the
this, or
5
some advice?
whys, people would hear about that. Deming's PDCA, plan, do, check, take action. There's Sauce Stack, which is PR Smith's. And I use proven things. I haven't made this stuff up and pulled it out of a box and said we hope it works. Same with Daryl. We're partners with digital marketing. They're one of the top digital marketer in the world. I mean, we use their systems. And we are a strategic paid partner with them for the right to use and present those systems. So we're coming with tools that work and have been tested. So there's 3 of the tools. There's
Yeah.
trailing 12 months. And a lot of the bigger companies are going to understand this stuff. But I have a lot of fun because, yeah, I get that. My next question is, are you doing it? Well, yeah. Flag goes up. Well, yeah is not a resounding support for am I doing it? What do you mean by, well, yeah? Well, we understand the concept, but we don't always get around it. The one thing I've learned, and I didn't realize how busy I was in 40 years and why I turned things down. You don't have time. And what we want to come into a company, whether it's marketing or it's operations, is we can take that burden off of you. We are like
Mm.
fractional, whether you want to call them marketing
COOs
directors,
almost.
operational director. And I've found an interesting role. I have founders and owners hiring me to train their staff the way they want them trained on key concepts. So when it gets down to mission and values, the mission and values get lost. Well, when you don't have systems, you lose it. And it starts from the bottom up. I mean, if you don't have the top of your company buying into this, it will die. But if you have those processes in, you know how to fix stuff. And it
Yeah,
really is not complicated. I say it's simple. Maybe that's a overstatement, but what it is, anyone can learn this stuff. And when you apply it, you have a different, more effective, productive, profitable operation.
I agree.
I keep saying it's simple, but it's not complex. How's that? Is that fair? It takes some interest, it takes a little bit of education, and it takes a whole lot of application. And if
Yeah,
you're willing to get out there and put it in and test it and try it and tune it up, it will work. And the companies that are successful, they use quality management systems. They use customer lifetime value. Customer lifetime value is one of the greatest ways to scale your company.
Imagine over 300 cleaning executives, all under one roof, ready to connect, collaborate, and build a community. Join your hosts, James Harper and Angel Sandoval, 11 keynote speakers, and 8 expert panelists sharing the blueprint to scale your life and business. Head over to event.cleaningprofits.com for all the details. For being listeners, use code CEO30 for a 30% discount. See you there!
I think one of the things that I always ask myself when I'm like seeking a mentor, a partner, similar to what you're talking about, because you just spoke about a lot of things that people are going to listen to this, and there's a lot of gold in there that they should probably start, jotting down, right? One of the questions I always ask myself is if I'm gonna, let's say I have a cleaning company and I need some mentorship from Mark Anderson, I'm like, can I collapse the amount of knowledge and or years in this particular topic with one mentorship, or can I do it? Do I believe that I can do it all myself and learn it all myself? And I'm so interested in, because you have to be like almost devoted to that topic to like really dive in and make time for it. When in reality, I'm a big believer of like, or can I pay to collapse? My speed to resolution be much faster
Sure.
than me learning it from scratch. Like I think that's what's helped us is we've never tried to. I mean, a lot of our clients that have worked with you, like an Edwin. Edwin is huge on learning. Joseph is too. And so that's why when you're like, oh, how did they go from 1 to 100 to 200 to 400 to, you're like, what the, like that's big growth. Well, that's because they're collapsing the time, right? They're seeking mentorship and wisdom.
And I did too. I did not do all this. I didn't lock myself up in a hole and learn all this. I got mentors. I went to classes. I had to learn all this because of the niche we were in. We had a very specific niche when we started, our niche, whichever you like, in the high tech and doing clean rooms. And that's what really took our business off. And
So
that we specialized in anything that was process driven. Food plant sanitation. A lot of the people have heard this. Clean rooms, hotel motels, believe it or not, because the cleaning is critical to the success of the property.
let me ask you a question here, Mark.
Yeah.
And James, are you good?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I was going to jump in, but
Oh,
ask your
go for it. Go for
question.
it. Go for it.
No, Mark, I want to not skim over some of this terminology, especially for maybe a new owner that's listening, or maybe they've even been in the game a while and they're just unfamiliar, because I've had to learn this through the years. I'm going to go back to something you said about 5 minutes ago, but I
Okay.
think this is really important. Everyone talks about their revenue, last year's revenue, this year's revenue, but you mentioned trailing 12 months and how important that is. break that down. What is trailing 12 months for someone that doesn't know? And why is that almost maybe more important to be tracking than your 2023 revenue?
Well, the trailing 12 months combined. So if I'm on a chart, if you chart your revenue growth, if you chart your labor, you have all these spikes in it. 1 month you're up, 1 month you're down, and there's a number of reasons for why you're up or down. Labor expands and contracts, jobs. And it looks like, so you look at that chart and it's doing this. If I'll go from there, it's all up. What are you really doing? So to smooth those out, you go year over year January, year over year February, and that dot. Now it shows you, is your company really growing and how much is it growing? That's a short explanation of a trailing 12 month. It's a very simple principle. I mean, but people don't analyze their businesses from that aspect. And they all sometimes think they're making more money than they are, or they're growing faster. And they're not, because the growth is so sporadic looking on the chart. You could do a trailing 3 years if you wanted. This is 3 years, January to January, 3 years, March to March, and see what you're doing. And it'll show seasonal issues. It'll show upsell, cross-sell issues where your campaigns are successful. It'll identify a lot of different things. But it takes the radical appearance of the growth chart out. It's not all those little spikes up and down. It smooths it out, and you can see, am I really growing year over year? You can look it up, trailing 12 months. It's everywhere.
Well,
Yeah.
Does that help?
It does help. I was just going to say, for those like listening, the reason too, in like my mind, that almost gives you a more honest representation of like what your business is currently doing. And if you ever go to sell your business, that's actually what they ask for first.
Yeah. Well, you have to know, are you scaling? Are you really growing? Do you have a foundation? When somebody buys your business, yeah, they look at the last 2 to 3 years, obviously, because what you did after 3 years ago probably may not be relative. You've made a lot of changes. But you have to look, do you have a history of adding business and keeping business and selling more to your current business? And quite frankly, that's one of the things that made our business, when Marsden looked at it, a lot more attractive. And we were out to market for quite a while off and on, because we went out in 2008. We all know what happened there. The real estate market went in the toilet, and we got back busy after $1 million of revenue went out the door. Didn't lose a customer, but we lost the revenue. Hey guys, we got to cut you. So they want to know, because when I make an investment, what's the investment capable of returning? And am I buying? Now, if I'm buying a roll up, which means I'm going to buy your business, I'm basically, I'll be frank, gut it. I'm going to take all your office expenses, all your SG&A, get rid of it, because I've already got it in my main office. I'm going to factor that in. I'm going to take out all of the things that the owner's purchasing that probably are not going to be continuing expenses, and look at what I'm going to make. And if you have a lot of new contracts, let's say I'm selling my business and I've just brought these contracts on in the last year. Well, that's all good and well, but we all know, even if you have a 2-year contract, but if you have customers in your book of business that have been with you 3, 5, 7 years, that says that these people are going to be around long enough for me to get my return on investment, have a solid foundation to build from. And the smart buyers do that. And there's a lot of people a lot smarter in this than I am, believe me, in BSCAI. I mean, the guys that are doing 200 million a year and buying and selling companies like crazy. And M&A is a whole different thing. You guys know a couple of guys that are growing by buying. So
yeah. Let me ask you a question. Let's do rapid fire questions here, because I'm curious about your brain here. So one, your brain.
My brain. Okay.
So here we go.
How
so
about we
first
action on that brim. There we go.
Oh, there we go. So first question, what is a normal, not normal, average, healthy margin to win business at? Not gross, just not not net, gross margin.
Are you talking about revenue minus cost of goods sold? Basically, they call it an operating profit or operating margin.
Yeah, let's do operating margin, and then let's do all the way down.
Okay. You're going to love this. It's like everything else. It's it's not a one size fits all answer. If you are a smaller company, you should shoot, and most business books will tell you this as well, or any seminars or courses you take, 60-40. 60% cost of goods sold, 40% operable margin. And that pays for all your admin, your sales, um, anything else that your management, your owners. Now, people book owner's equity in different lines on their business. But as you get bigger, the margins go down because it's more competitive. And of course, it's more money. So you're not going to earn a 40% margin on a $20,000 a month account because you're not going to be competitive. So your margins drop to 30. Now you look at your aggregate margins, account over account, region by region, and then by the company to see how you're doing with your margins. So margins gets to be a game. You can do break even. You can go below break even and say, if I keep this 3 years, what is my risk? That gets into risk and reward and some other, but none of this is, honestly, none of this is that hard. I mean, I thought it was hard, and when you first come out and do this stuff, and even after going to school and all that stuff, you're kind of confused. But when you're in it long enough, the concepts are, it's the simplicity on the other side of complexity. Everything seems hard and difficult when you first learn it.
Yeah.
Like I'm learning Spanish and it's hard and difficult. Angel, it's not
Oh,
hard and difficult
at
for
the
you.
end, you and James are about to have a conversation in Spanish, and we're gonna see how it
Oh, no,
goes.
we're not. Put something up and I'll read it. I'm my conversation, my mind's still going, okay, let's see. That's a does that, so that's past tense.
Hey,
I
listen, it
forgot I
works.
suffered through all that in English though.
So,
I could get by.
40% margin,
Yeah.
but you
And
can play.
that's
Depends.
smaller companies. As you get larger, that shrinks down. I mean, when we were getting our large accounts, if we got 14 to 15%,
Hmm.
we were doing really well. But how can you take that and survive? Well, let's go back to Alchemy, wallet share. What else? What other jobs to be done that your client has? So the client that we serve, their facility properties managers, VPs, directors, whoever you are, they buy landscape, they buy painting. Well, you're probably their biggest expense and the one they're close to. Why aren't they buying it from you? Because painting has bigger margins than cleaning. So now all of a
Yeah.
sudden, I have all these materials. I have to put them together and make them into gold. And it also ties the customer a lot closer to you. It changes the relationship. They become more dependent. All this with the caveat, if you don't produce quality, you're not going to be there. And that goes whether you're cleaning the building or doing 800 things for them. You still have to be, your CSATs have to be good. You know, your net promoter score has to be good. Your time to resolutions. I'm going to talk about 4 or 5. And I'll probably use 4 or 5 to keep it quick in the, I don't know if it's going to go on the front end of the 6 and 60 or the video that if they attend, they get access to the video.
See.
Yep.
Let's
So
go. Love it. Love
yeah.
it. All
And you
right,
guys
man.
drive a hard bargain, you know. Angel and I went around and around. Oh, you got to bring it, man. You got to. We had a few conversations, I believe, didn't we?
That's
And
funny.
we
Yeah, but I
finally,
mean, we always run a hard bargain out here because we gotta make sure that it's gonna be what we want to create transmutation.
well, you've got important people coming. You guys get a lot of heavy hitters in there. And that's great for the people that are in one state. But I'll tell you what, if you're a small company, this is the kind of event that you're going to get to talk to those people and they're going to talk to you. That's not true of every other event in the
Yeah.
industry. They're big, they can be clunky. I'm not knocking any of them, but the smaller events like you guys put on, and there's a couple other people that do that. That's where you get an opportunity. But the one thing I've noticed in years, anybody will talk to anybody at your event and give advice. The speakers,
Yeah.
everybody. I mean, there is access to information, and I've made some great friends from people I didn't even know that we're still in touch. Some of the speakers we still talk, and we just share what's going on. You don't get that type of access. Now, Do they walk up and start the conversation? No. You have you have to know how to network and go up. But it's as simple as, man, I really liked what you said up there. How could that help me? Whatever. What did you do when you were? And I'm not going to mention any names, but you guys have at least 15 people in there that are running 12 to $20 million companies that give information and help away for zero, just for
Yeah,
the fact of helping. And again, I'm not
man.
going to get into names for fear I'd leave somebody out. I don't know all of them, but I know the people that I'm involved with, and you all know who we're talking about. Yeah, pull up your lunch plate, sit down, and start talking.
Pull up
Absolutely.
that
Oh,
lunch plate, baby.
Yeah,
I wanna rapid fire two questions at you, man. The first one is, since you've done this for 40 years, I'm just curious, man. You've seen 40 years of history in this industry, and you've seen a lot of change and
mhm.
evolution. What's one thing happening now in the commercial cleaning industry that you find maybe interesting, that's new, that's maybe like hit the Mark Anderson radar?
The industry has gone through a couple of revs of mergers and acquisitions, but it's stronger today than it's ever been. And there's opportunities today, and a lot of people are, I don't mean this in a bad way, exploiting these opportunities to exponentially grow their companies by buying other companies, bringing them in. And you get enough of these together, then you look for private equity and somebody else that is blending several facility companies. That didn't exist. And I know some larger companies that, are doing 200 million doing this, and they're just going to town. There's 10 or 15 of those people in the United States. And that's how they're growing. That type of growth wasn't around when I started. I mean, you clean buildings and all this other stuff we're talking about. You were pretty much the janitor, and that's all right. But it's changed. Started to change in the 90s, fell apart in 2008 when all the values went down. It took until about 2012 to come back when people started thinking. But now you have people putting consortiums together to build and buy a number of companies to put that together to then sell to a private equity. Now you're starting to talk about not just selling your company, but you're exponentially growing your bite of the apple fast and large. Now, it comes with a ton of issues, and we can go into culture and onboarding of companies and all of that. But basically, that's that's what's hot right now. And the subcontracting thing has been very interesting. It's still um, when I would say up until about the 90s, people would you'd have to put in your contract you didn't use subcontractors to do the cleaning. They'd
Yeah.
allow windows. Now it's done constantly. And if it's done correctly, and we know a few people that do it correctly and are very successful.
What's up, Profitable Cleaner listeners? Quick question for you. Are you using 5 to 7 different platforms just to manage the everyday operations of your commercial cleaning company? If so, let us help you consolidate that into one platform. Introducing you uSource. Go to usource.com, book your free demo today, and actually get started on your trial for 60 days. No charge for 60 days, all from time and attendance to reporting, vendor management, operations, sales. It's time you stop using 5 to 7 platforms and consolidate into one. So listeners, don't forget, go to usource.com and start your account today.
And I'll mention Dan. Uh, they do it right. They do it well. That didn't exist back then. You had nobody to subcontract to because that wasn't a group. I call it your operations group. Really, it's they take over. They do all the business, and you run the business and do the PR. I mean, that's the simplest way to explain it. Prime and sub. So that has changed things. AI is going to blow the place up and allowing owners to do things when they learn how, as it moves further, when they learn how to do queries with the AI and how to walk it through querying or questioning. It's amazing what this thing does. I've cut my time. Now, I don't publish anything straight out of AI. One, it's not right all the time. And two, I don't care what it knows, it still isn't me. So I have to put my voice on it. I have to check it's saying what I'm going to say. I was working on actually, it was a report for a customer the other day. And the report would have taken me 5 hours traditionally as I waded through the information, looked at this, looked at that, made my notes. I took my notes, my videos in, I queried a couple things, threw it over to Daryl. He really knows more about My partner knows more about that, a lot more about that than I do. He's deep into that now. He's kind of moved into that hole. And I took a 5-hour job and was done in an hour. I had a
Yeah.
cigar sitting on my back porch, enjoying life,
Cigars
you
made a
know.
comeback. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, the cigar had to make one more comeback.
I
So
love it, man.
those are some of the things that I see that are really going to, and what it's going to change is people's ability to write proposals, to analyze. This thing has an immense amount of power to analyze customer problems and situations. I've used it with some of my clients. We'll tape the video like this, whether we're here in Riverside or we're on Teams. We do a lot of work in Teams because that's where when I work with my customers and clients, we're all in Teams. So all the files are there. You don't have to go looking through email. We use project boards, but you do this. We took a problem in. So I took the video. So they did this interchange for a half hour and I queried them on, what are you facing? What are you doing? And I said, hey, watch this. So I went in, I queried the thing, and I'll be doggone. It came out with a reasonable, probably 70% correct suggestion of a solution as to how to approach the customer. Have you thought about using AI that way? I mean, it's going to be, and it's doing more and more. It has eyes now. It looks at things. It reads things. It reads PDFs. That's I use what is it? AI 4.0, Open AI. And we have several of them that Daryl runs stuff through, depending on what you're doing. And I'm not qualified, but ask somebody who's an Excel expert or running numbers. This thing will crank through those numbers in half the time you can, or tell you how to rewrite a formula. Is it going to take over the world? No. Is it going to help us be more productive and
yeah,
get to better answers and solutions faster to customers and employees? Yes. And that hasn't even be. So to get that thinking in your mind, how do I, because they go, I don't use AI. You have customers? Yep. You have employees? Yeah. Do you have problems? Yeah. Do you need solutions? Yeah. Then you should be learning how to query AI. If not, you're doing a lot of thinking rather than having the cigar and the coffee with your feet up on the couch.
yeah.
Now,
I
I've
agree.
got 45 years of experience in all of this stuff in communication and know how to query, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to get a decent answer that you can work off of. I've cut some of my quality management system operations and thinking in half because I just tell it, do this, do that based on these concepts, those concepts. Give me a plan and let me see it. That used to take me 3 or 4 hours to do. Done
Yeah.
in 30
Even the
minutes.
creative thinking of it,
Yeah.
like it starts the process for you. I agree.
And I mean, as far as, and I can't speak to programming data. I know people that do that. I've got friends that are in that. It goes over my head. I'm not a programmer. I mean, we didn't even have computers when I was in college. Okay. We had 10 function calculators. We didn't even have a business calculator, for crying out loud. If you didn't know how to do it, you failed the class, which I can proudly say I failed a couple. So
Well,
everybody says,
you're winning at life. So
yeah,
let me ask you.
right.
I can tell that this is gonna be like very I mean, every time you speak and every time they give you a scenario, a business scenario, I know that you'll be able to fix most of them, if not get them 99% there, 95% there. They still gotta do their part, right? So if you haven't, make sure you attend the VIP, get your ticket, upgrade your GA, do what you gotta do. It is limited spots, so we can't overwhelm Mark either. Not that he gets overwhelmed, but we gotta make
Well,
sure we
yeah,
keep that secret sauce only for a specific number of people.
well, yeah, that gets into all the how to, which is where we come in. But I'm going to give you the pieces. I'm going to show you the box top, the puzzle, where to look, make some things simpler. My goal in this, when you gave me the challenge, okay, because we went through, here's where we're going to put you, here's what it's got to look like. I'm in front of a group of very smart people. A lot of these people are smarter and sharper than I am, and that's all good and well. So somebody asked the other day, where I was called a friend and say, hey, play with this title with me. I'm going to do 6 and 60. And he said, why? Well, I said, look, that's 10 minutes an item. I don't know. I know some of the people in the audience, but I want everybody to come away with one idea that you go, I can take this, put it in my business and see if it can work. That's my mission. One idea. Because I'll tell the story at the seminar, but I had an idea that generated $15 million of revenue over 13 years. And I did something nobody else would do because I sat in a seminar nobody else would go to, a Jay Abraham seminar. So the other thing is, I started out with 10 and 60, and we went back. That's why I'm doing an extra 6 for takeaway and go and take it home and do the video and everything with some explanation. I will have some playbooks. They're not going to be detailed, but it's going to take some of the mystery out of this stuff because I've had to take it out with my customers. They go, I'm not getting this. This makes no sense. How does this all hook up? Well, I know how it hooks up, but guess what helped me hook it up faster? AI.
Yeah.
Because the stuff I'm exploring is all in the database. Because, ISO, quality management, it's been around since the end of World War II.
Yeah.
Deming came out of World War II, had to go to Japan because Ford wouldn't listen to him. Ford lost out and got their lunch eaten until Philip Crosby came along. And guess whose methods he used? Deming's. So, and again, this was all manufacturing, all this stuff, but it's service now. We're none of us are in the manufacturing business, but it's the same principles. And everybody makes it just way too hard. I've had several conversations with companies that are ISO and what they're going to do for it. And I keep telling them what the problem is in the service industry. We have to make it simpler. We have to make it digestible. We have to make it usable. And it can't take a damn year to do it. Why? Well, nobody can hire somebody at $50,000 for part-time to sit around and push forms around and get everything done and hope to God the certifier certifies you. Depending on where you're doing business, you can differentiate yourself by being compliant with something as well as certified. Now, you move into certain things, they'll want an ISO certification or a SIM certification. But I'll tell you what, you show somebody you're compliant, you show them you've got systems that can evaluate the quality, we can fix the problems quicker. That's how we beat major national companies. Now, did they have the systems? Yes. They didn't have the people. So what I always saw was the people and our ability to perform. And the company mission was real. I mean, we did something on values with Polishing Profits podcast. If you haven't looked at that, it's this 3-person frame approach, and we just solve problems. 3 of us get in. We have 150 years combined experience. We all have multi-million-dollar companies, and we just talk about what we think the market wants to hear. And it's all on YouTube, sorted for you if you want to know it by topic. So
we'll link it below.
But you just get in and make this stuff work, and you'll differentiate yourself. And if you can show that you have a methodology for delivering and making sure the client's happy, and you train the employees to that, you will look a lot different. But it gets down to the people and implementing it. And I always, my favorite thing is, you can have $125 Squire guitar, and does the guitar make the best sound? No. What makes a difference? Well, give it to me, you'll hear one thing. Give it to Eric Clapton, it'll sound like a $25 million guitar. It is the people that do the performing. It's not the system.
Correct.
And
absolutely.
People don't get that a lot of times. Oh, I've got this system. Well, it's my old saying, information without application is constipation. Things back up and you get sick if you don't use what you know. You have to put it out there. So,
man, you are the king of sayings. I love it, man.
I got a new one for you. I heard yesterday, one of the guys I coach for a company, he's a retired Marine officer, and he came up through the ranks. Okay. So from a private, and we got to talking, and he was having trouble getting on $1 million account, getting the project manager squared away. And we're talking about how to do this. And all of a sudden this guy comes up and says, well, you don't, and I thought I knew every saying, quippy saying to make a point. And he goes, yeah, you don't want to be the third monkey. Maybe I should tell him that. Third monkey, wheels are spinning and the eyes are going and it's going. And I said, all right, I'll bite. What's the third monkey? He said, I was in training, where they learn to fight, knife fighting and all that stuff they do. And he said, I had a drill sergeant come up to me, and he said, I wasn't fighting. I wasn't really putting myself forward to defend myself. And he said, hey, and you leave the expletives out because this guy's just about 10 years younger than that. He grabbed him by the shirt collar, pulled this dude in, and said, "You don't want to be the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's raining. Fight like you're the third monkey." He threw me back in the pit, and away I went. Look that up. You can look up. It's on the internet. And they've got some great memes for this thing. And I thought, that's a motivational statement very quickly, how hard you have to work. If you want to win, you have to fight like the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's raining.
There we go, man.
I like that.
Mark, I love it, man. We are at the top of the hour here. We're running back to back today, man. But dude, the problem, and it's a good problem, we could talk to you for another 3 hours, but that's why people need to get their tickets and get into the VIP Masterclass with you, man.
I can tell them, don't miss this year with these guys.
That's right. Don't miss this year with you, brother.
But the first year was what, a handful of people. Now you're 300, and the first year it was in a little room at the University of Denver, and now you have a little warehouse.
Oh yeah, now huge warehouse.
Yeah,
so here we go.
People are great. I cannot encourage people enough, regardless of where your revenue is, get in and meet, because you guys provide just a great, strong networking through the events. And I know you added that last year, and the dinner, the VIP dinner, that thing was great. I hated to leave. I left at 10 and everybody was still sitting out by the fire pit smoking cigars and talking. But
this time you'll have cigars with us, man.
Oh, well, yeah, I just had to give back. You know how that goes. I can't shut up. I couldn't shut up, so I burned all my time, so I didn't have time left to smoke a cigar. But I won't do that at lunch. I'll bring value.
Good.
There you go.
Or, if you haven't gotten your tickets or your VIPs, make sure you get them. Mark Anderson is gonna put on a show, and regardless if you're VIP or not, join us at the event so you can have access to people like Mark. Mark, once again, brother, we appreciate you, we love you, and we honor you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast again.
Yeah, we love being part of the family with you guys. We really appreciate all that you've helped us do and the references and everything else. God bless you, man. We appreciate it. Cheers, brothers.